This conference will now be recorded.
We'll start with number one. We'll call the meeting to order. Mover,
Ron Mamchuk, Councillor.
seconder.
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, folks. I'd like to welcome all the councillors and staff here tonight for video meeting number 4, I believe. Hopefully we're almost done with these. Item number 2, adoption of the agenda. Any additions or subtractions?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, you need to vote on opening the meeting so that way I could clear the screen here.
Sorry, sir.
No problem.
Was I the only one that didn't do it?
No, waiting for everybody here.
Yeah, sorry. Please cast your votes.
Vote is carried 4-0.
We'll also note that Mayor Yoon is in the queue to speak at his variation later, or his conditional use. Shane Belty will be chairing the meeting. Item number 2, adoption of the agenda. Get a mover if there's no changes.
Seconded by Councillor Mamchuk.
Thank you. You may cast your vote.
Councillor Boulanger, are you in favor? Yes or no?
I already did it, but I'll try it again. Sorry for the delay, but I thought I did it.
No problem. Showed up 4-0 carried.
Item number 3, adoption of minutes. Mover.
Councillor Clayton.
Seconded by Councillor Mamchuk.
Thank you, guys.
We have the minutes of the last meeting being May 5th. It was a Teams meeting whereby it was a fairly short meeting. We do have 2 important resolutions that were passed. Number 1 was the 305 crosswalk in Sanigat requesting MIT's assistance on the matter. The other one was COVID related when it comes to waiving fees, utility late fees. So council passed a motion for waiving those penalties or late charges for the next 90 days, which is basically a billing cycle and to be reevaluated at that time. And that is it for me.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions on that? Comments?
Nothing to
Not
add
from
here.
here.
Thank you. Let's move to a vote.
That is carried 4-0.
Thank you, sir. Move on to 4.1, accounts not paid to be approved. Mover
Councillor Mamchuk.
and seconder.
Councillor Blanchet.
Thank you.
We have 2 batches in the not paid to be approved, batch 13785 for a total of $181. Basically, that is just a utility refund being reimbursed to the individual. Batch 13810 for a total amount of $374 and some odd dollars and cents. Basically, that batch is related to 3 major bills which account basically for 70+%. There's the municipal insurance program, which is about $226,000. We also paid Contact $19,000 regarding some controllers for the lift stations in Saint Adolphe and Ile-des-Chênes, as well as the monthly garbage pickup in the sum of $26,000. So just those 3 bills add up to about $272,000 of the $374,000.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions on those batches?
And for me,
Okay, but here, Ron Mamchuk.
Thank you, councillors. Cast your vote.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 4.2, payroll to be approved. Mover,
Councillor
Councillor Clayton.
Mamchuk.
seconder.
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
The payroll to be approved is only the one payroll 10 for the employees from April 26th to May 9th. Do realize that there are some overtime hours for some public work utility people, likely because of water break that occurred. So extra hours there, a little bit of extra hours for staffing as well due to budget time and public hearings for the budget, etc. So other than that, nothing else to report on the matter.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions in that one?
Okay, here.
All good.
Cast your votes.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to public hearings and variation applications. 511.
.511 is regarding variation V6 2020. The applicant is Sylvain Lemoine at 294 Bel-Ami Drive. The variation is to vary the required distance between buildings from 8 feet to 4 feet for the location of a shed. Notices were sent out according to the Planning Act within 100 meters of the property, also distributed to the McDonald Planning, Reach-Out Planning District, Reach-Out Public Works Manager, Building Inspector, Council, CEO, and Fire Chief. Was also posted at the Case Provencher and the Dépanneur Cheyenne in Saint Agathe, as well as posted on our municipal board, municipal website, and a connect message was sent out as well.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I need to open this, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll open that at 7:08. Is there anyone to speak in favor of this application?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak against this application V6 2020?
Again, not that I'm aware.
Thank you. Anything received in favor?
Yes, we have one email received from Jerry and Noni Giesbrecht. We are sending support for the zoning proposal regarding 294 Bel-Ami Drive in Saint Agathe. Nothing more than that.
Anything received against?
Nothing received against.
Okay, we will close this at 7:09. Proceed to your vote.
We should have a mover and seconder first. And let me just get in here quickly.
Okay.
Councillor
Good to
Belanger
go.
moves.
I second it. Mamchuk second it.
Thank you, councillors.
And Ron, okay, so the resolution basically is to approve said resolution, said variation, my apologies, and that the applicant must obtain building permits from the Armor Reach-Out office for the proposed shed. Any discussions?
I just have a question about the site map. When we were in discussions and planning, there was a confusion between the numbers, and I don't think it got changed according to the site map. It still shows 8 feet between the shed and the house, and is the variation to change it to 4 feet?
My understanding is the variation is from the house to the shed, which is supposed to be the 8-foot mark. And then
Mhm.
from the shed to the property line is 4 feet. And there's nobody to the extreme east. It is part of the provincial dike right of way on that side where the 4 feet is. So there's tons of room on that side. So it's the 8 feet on the towards the house.
Right, so I'm still confused. To vary the required distance between buildings from 8 feet to 4 feet.
Yeah, you're right, Janine. The two numbers on the site map are still incorrect. It's supposed to be 4 where the 8 is and 8 where the 4 is.
That's what I was just wondering.
Yep.
That's pretty close. The shed's pretty close to the house then.
Yep.
If you're just
Yep.
going 4 feet.
Yeah, and that's what the variation.
That's what I'm just wondering. Is the site map correct and the wording in our variation is incorrect? What is the what's the correct one?
Okay, I am just going to look at the notice that was sent out. The notice states that it is for the buildings from 8 to 4. So
Okay.
I do not have the original application here. And I'm just looking up the requirements from the building inspector. And he does say the side yard and rear yard setbacks would be in compliance. So therefore my understanding is that it's could have sworn it was the 8 feet between the house.
Can I jump in here or am I not allowed?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so I do have the application here and it does say shed 4 feet from my garage on the east side. So to vary 8 feet to 4 feet from the distance between the garage and the building of the house.
Okay, perfect.
There it is, clear as day.
Thanks, Dominic.
Building to building.
Thank you.
So therefore the resolution reads correctly.
Correctly, yes.
Any other discussion?
Not
Not
here.
here.
Okay,
Loudly
thank you.
clarified.
Let's move to the vote.
Vote is carried 4-0.
Okay, 5.2.1, C8 2020, Arlene Pooley to allow hair salon at 594 Lucille Bay. Can I get a mover?
Councillor Mamchuk.
Seconder?
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you.
The variation is to allow for a hair salon at 594 Lucille Bay. Again, notices were sent out to 100 meters of said property and distributed to the McDonald Richard Planning District, Public Works Manager, Building Inspector, Councillor, CO, and the Fire Chief. Was also posted on our municipal board and our municipal website. Also put up at the case in St. Adolphe and at the SO in St. Adolphe, as well as a connect message was sent out.
Thank you. Anyone to speak in favor of this? We'll open a public hearing at 7:14. I see we've got Steve and Arlene Pooley. Did you guys wish to speak in favor of this at this time? Thank you. Anyone to speak against? Anything received in favor?
Nothing received in favor,
Anything received against?
nothing received against.
Okay, we'll close this at 7:15.
We have a mover and seconder. The resolution would read that the home business is approved subject to the following conditions: that the applicant shall not cause the generation of undue traffic and congestion in the neighborhood. The space devoted to the business must not exceed 20% of the total floor area of the primary dwelling, or 300 square feet, whichever is the lesser. There shall be no customer parking on Lucille Bay. The hours of operation shall be limited from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Any signage shall comply with the municipal zoning bylaw 9-2019, section 11, and that the applicant shall sign a confirmation letter accepting the terms of this order, and there may be site audits conducted to ensure compliance and any other non-compliance issues that may cause to revoke the conditional use at any time.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. We'll open it up for discussion. Anything to add,
Oh, it's
Councillor?
good here. Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
here.
home-based business is good.
Everything good from Councillor Mamchuk's point.
Thank you, folks. We'll close the hearing at, I did that already, sorry. We'll move to the vote for C8 2020.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to 5.2.2. C9-2020, Chris Ewan to allow home-based business at 45-1276 Old PTH 59. We'll open the hearing at 7:17.
The application is to allow a home-based business at unit 45-1276 on Old PTH 14. Notices were sent out to 100 meters of said property, as well as to the McDonald Richard Planning District, Public Works Manager, Building Inspector, Councillor, CEO, Fire Chief, and the applicant, as well as the Ile des Chênes Country Store, Ile des Chênes Hotel, and it was also posted at the municipal office on our municipal website, and a connect message was also sent out.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this variation or the conditional use?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead if council would let me.
Please proceed, Mr. Ewan.
Thank you very much, your deputy worship, all of council. I appreciate you having me tonight. Again, you've seen my application, you've seen my business plan thoroughly, I believe. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. I do have another letter that was sent to me via email in support. I'm not sure if the assistant CEO received it, from a Patricia Lloyd.
I did see it through my email change that came in at around 4:45.
Did you want me to read it from my end, or did you want to go ahead with that, Mr. CEO?
If you wish to enter it as evidence, please do so.
Yeah, I'll enter it. So it's from Patricia Ann Lloyd. Hello, Chris. I certainly would say having more businesses in Ile des Chênes is always good. Small businesses often do not have a need for separate offices or storage. Therefore, having home offices is the best way to go. You have proven in the past that your business and position of mayor serves the community very well. Thank you for this. My husband has no objections to your application for a home office in our complex. I understand that it will not adversely affect our parking limitations. Good luck to you, Patricia Lloyd, Unit 36, in the same condo development that I'm in. That's it for that. I really have nothing else to add. I think most of council, most of the area knows my business. I do event services. I don't operate from the home, but because of COVID-19, I had to adjust my business model and create an online store, having to bring some of the work to the house. It's really just filing storage files, computer work for the online aspect. Nothing is stored in terms of a warehouse system. Everything is in the warehouses in Winnipeg at the DeLuca Center, Brute Tees, places like that. So it won't become a burden, and I don't expect to have any foot traffic. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ewan. Any other letters of support in that one, Mr. CEO?
Yes, there was one that was received from Eleanor Tamilowitz. Hello, I am the owner of Unit 42 and I have no problems with Unit 45 having an event planning business. There was also an email of support sent by Haley Commons. The board of Haley Commons, WCC 830 in Ile-des-Chênes has no issues or concerns based on information received from the applicants with the conditional use application of Elizabeth Rodriguez and Chris Ewan. Signed, Brian Fox, President.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Is there anyone to speak against this application tonight? Have we received anything against?
Yes, we have an objection letter from, and let me call it up here, please. The objection letter is from Evelyn Chilton. The subject, of course, is the home business. My husband and I strongly oppose of this bylaw to allow in our Haley Common condominium. It clearly states that the Haley Common condominium declaration, part 13, page 13, part 2, 2.03 regarding occupation and use. And the email ends there. With that email is also a copy of that section that the person is making reference to regarding occupation and lease. And council does have a copy of that as well as part of their package. I will just add the comment that as we go through the process and deliberation, that we keep this matter into account, but we do have also a letter of support from the board of Haley Commons. So it's kind of contradictory to the objection being given here right now, but we'll talk about that a little bit later as well.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
And nothing else received other than that.
Perfect. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor or against? Thank you. We'll close the hearing at 7:23. I had a motion.
Oh,
Councilor
hang on,
Mims.
folks. Gotta open the voting. Sorry. Oh, it is open. Sorry. Please proceed. Mover.
Councilor. Sorry. Need a mover?
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
You're welcome.
Seconder?
Councillor Blanger.
Thank you.
The resolution reads that the home-based business be approved subject to the following conditions: that the applicant shall not cause the generation of undue traffic and congestion in the neighborhood. The space devoted to the business must not exceed 20% of the floor area of the primary dwelling or 300 square feet, whichever is less. There shall be no customer parking on Old PTH 59. Any storage shall be indoors. Any signage shall comply with the municipal zoning bylaw. Section 11, applicant shall also sign a confirmation letter regarding the terms and site audits may be conducted, and any non-compliance may cause revoke of the conditional use. I believe staff has already added also an additional clause, and I'll just call up the resolution here, stating that the applicant shall provide confirmation of approval of the condo board for this use in this location. I would recommend to council to have that in the resolution as well, because It's almost like having different tiers of government. You have your federal government, you have your provincial government, then your municipal government, and each one needs to correspond to the higher ups, right? So in our municipal bylaws, in our zoning, it does allow for a home-based business. It doesn't touch on whether it's a single family dwelling, a side-by-side, or a condo. So if the condo corporation has sets of rules in place, then it'd be up to the condo board to allow or disallow this use. But as a municipal level, we're okay with it. So what we're doing is almost like the province passing the buck to the municipalities. We're going to pass the buck to the condo boards, and as long as they submit us a letter of approval, then administration would be okay with the process.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. We'll open up for discussion.
Nothing to add here.
Nothing to add here. Mamchuk?
I just have a question of who the second applicant is. I looked in your business plan, I couldn't see anybody there. There was
That's the
Elizabeth?
person that owns the
Elizabeth? Oh, that's the condo? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm not, nope, I'm okay.
And just for the record, folks, Mayor Ewan did declare a conflict of interest. There's extra paperwork that I need to fill out. So him being excluded from the participation of the vote is 100% legit.
Thank you for that. Seeing no other questions, we shall proceed to the vote.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 6, bylaws to consider. 6.1, bylaw 3-2020, tax levy for 2020, second reading.
Can I get a mover and seconder, please?
Councillor Mamchuk?
Councillor Belanger, seconds.
Thank you. All right, so first reading was given on April 20th at a special meeting of council. The financial plan was presented to council. In between times, we held our public hearing for the financial plan with some technical difficulties, but we were able to muscle through the whole presentation. Since that presentation, we have not heard any feedback or comments from the public. So therefore, I would recommend that council give bylaw second reading. Just a note that we are reflecting the discounts for early payment for June and July at 1.5% and August at 1% as council's wishes at the last meeting.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any discussion on bylaw 3?
Everything okay from Councillor Mamchuk?
No, it was very clear, very well laid out. The presentation was great. So I applaud the administration on making this understandable for us non-figure related people.
Yeah, I think our CAO did a great job of presenting. CFO, pardon me.
Yes,
Job
I would-
well done.
I'll take the credit, but I can't. So good job to our CFO.
Yeah. Okay, seeing no other questions, we will proceed to the vote.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. 6.2, bylaw 3-2020, tax levy for 2020, third reading. Need a mover?
Mamchuk,
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you.
Second verse, same as the first.
And again, any other discussion?
job well done.
Thanks, everyone. We shall proceed to the vote.
That is also carried 4-0. And just for council information, we will proceed with the rollout of getting the information into the province as quickly as possible, fall in the queue for the printouts of the tax bills, and hopefully have those out by early June.
Thank you, Mr. CEO and staff on that one. It's a big lift every year. Moving on to 7.1.1 subdivision application 4165-20-7897 H. Beaudry and Sons Farm Limited. Can I get a mover?
Councillor
Councillor
Mamchuk,
Clayton.
Boulanger.
Showdown.
Yep.
Just pick two.
yeah.
I have Councillor Boulanger as moving it
Okay,
Okay.
seconder.
with a close second for Ron Manchuk as seconder.
Thank you,
There you
sir.
go.
The resolution reads to approve the subdivision. This was brought to our attention via the planning meeting that we had last week. Nothing much more to report. There was some discussion as to the property lines and where those should line up, but based on the information received regarding a pasture that should go along with the barn, the diagram that exists that we got should be the one laid out for the subdivision. So administration would recommend to move ahead as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, just quickly, I met with Mr. Beaudry for a site visit, and I agree with the recommendation from the McDonald Reach Shot Planning District that this application be approved.
Thank you, Councillor Clayton. Anyone else?
Oh, it looks good. It looks like it's all being reserved for ag in a sense land, so that's good.
Okay from here too, Mr. Pelletier.
Thank you. All right, no further comments. We'll move to the vote.
Vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. We're going to move on to public work matters, and we'll start with 7.2.1. 2020 fleet capital purchase semi-tractor. Can I get a mover
Councillor Mamchuk,
and a seconder?
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Councillor Clayton and Mamchuk. All yours, Mr. CEO.
All right, Public Works has obtained quite a few quotes for a 2020 semi-tractor. I believe this was talked over at a Public Works meeting. The purpose of this purchase is to try to cut down on our hauling expense by doing the work ourselves. So the recommendation here out of the 4 quotes is to go with a 2020 Peterbilt with the full amount of taxes at $179,000.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion?
Yeah, just quickly, were we able to get any assistance from either the AMM or the John Q WMR on, like, as a buy group on the purchase, I guess, Mr. CAO?
No, I believe Mike, our Public Works manager, went from almost window shopping from store to store and basically laid out what he was expecting for a unit and got pricing based on that. When it comes to big ticket items like this, the AMM or John Q will not be involved. They're more for the smaller, not everyday type of things, but the more common items.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have a quick question about, so Peterbilt, do we know what the brand of fleets that they generally go with? It's always a good idea to keep the same.
Yes,
is it-
and I think as far as semis go, I'm not sure. Sad to say, I'm not 100% sure what we have for stocked as far as semis. I know that for the truck plows and the sanding and stuff, we tend to stick with Western Stars, I believe. Like I said, the Public Works manager went window shopping, and I
Yeah.
guess this is
No,
the
I'm
one
curious.
that caught his eye.
It was red.
Okay, anything else?
Not here.
All right, we'll move it to the vote.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. 7.2.2, 2020 fleet attachment capital purchase, 2019 Cross Gate Hopper. Can I get a mover?
Councilor
Councilor
Blanchard?
Mamchuk. Okay.
You got that, Mr. CEO?
I got a whole bunch of threes at the same time, so let's go with Councillor Boulanger and Councillor Clayton.
Perfect.
Sorry, Councillor Mamchuk.
No problem.
The purchase, again, is to complement the semi that was just approved by council. This is for a cross gate hopper, other known, I think, as a belly dump. Again, Public Works went out to 3 companies, but only got 2 bids in. And what they are recommending is to buy a 2019 Arnie's belly dump provided in the resolution.
Okay, thank you. We'll open up for discussion.
And please don't ask me if what we have on stock.
No, I won't. So I see we're not going with the lowest bid, but it's probably not apples to apples at this point, right? Or
Yeah, I'm looking at that as well. Sometimes it's just the way they're configured. Some will be a better belly dump than others. I think we are talking minimal dollars out of the total price. I think there's $1,000 difference between the two, $1,150. So I think very, very competitive. So the recommendation from Public Works is to go with the first one from Arnie's.
And I guess with respect to this purchase and also the semi tractor, I think the expectation was that this equipment would pay for itself over 2 to 3 years, based on what we're paying for gravel hauling right now. Is that true?
The 2 to 3 years is arguable, let's say. However, we are looking at cutting costs with the hauling. By the time you do purchase a truck and the equipment, the labor, the maintenance, et cetera, it will take some time to chew away at that hauling, your rate of return is not 2 to 3 years, maybe 5 to 6 to 8. It all depends how much hauling you do with that truck, of course. So if you do have a guy on there hauling gravel, not quite 24/7 because we can't afford the overtime, but as much as we can, then we are cutting the costs for our hauling. The idea is also to try this for the first truck for the first time, see how it goes, and then if there's a need that we see a savings, that we do move towards the purchase of a second unit. And that was discussed with Public Works as well.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. CAO.
Anything else? Thank you. We'll move to the vote.
And that is carried 4-0.
Moving on to 7.2.3, 2020 fleet capital purchase 1 ton. Get a mover
Counselor Mamchuk,
and a seconder.
Councillor Belanger.
Thanks, councillors.
you're welcome.
Showdown at the OK Corral.
Pretty much.
All right. This is regarding the purchase of a 1-ton truck. So I guess the Public Works and all was laid out in the budget. So it was just a matter of going out and trying to get quotes, etc. In this case here, there are four quotes, 2 for different GMC models, as well as a Ford and a Dodge. I do know our current fleet for that is we're sticking with Chevys for the time being. And everybody has their own personal preference when it comes to GM, Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Toyota, Nissan, et cetera, et cetera. But in this case here, Public Works is recommending the 2020 TK31043 GMC Sierra, which is the higher one on the listing.
The Sierra Crex.
Correct.
All right.
Thank you. Any comments, discussion?
None here.
All right, we'll move to vote.
The vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. Moving to 7.2.4, Hildeshane Footbridge. Can I get a mover?
Councillor
Councillor
Belanger.
Clayton.
And a seconder.
I have Belanger
I'll
and
second.
Clayton.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have slow internet here. I'll never win.
This is in respect to part of the budget whereby council has decided to put some dollars towards infrastructure in all the communities, I believe to the tune to about 68,000 for the Hildeshane area. Part of that active transportation is connectivity between Meadowlark and a pathway that leads down to Notre Dame Bay, I believe. So in order to do that, there needs to be a crossing on Old 59 that Public Works is going to work on, but also to cross the ditch that that is right on the east side of Old 59 to be able to access the pathway heading out from there. So it's a connectivity issue. Public Works was working with the company in the Ile-des-Chênes area and came up with a design, and that design and cost has been shared with council. If council moves ahead with it, we will proceed with purchase and installation to ensure the connectivity in the Ile-des-Chênes area.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any comments or discussion?
No, I think it's a great step in the right direction, moving forward with our sidewalks and active transportation.
It's a good start. I agree with you.
I would second, third, and fourth that motion. It's a long time coming.
And it's good to see a local metalworks company putting their artistic talents to use too.
Yeah.
Nice looking bridge.
Awesome. Okay. We'll move to the vote.
Vote is carried 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to 7.3.1, April 2020 building permits report. I don't think I need a mover on this one, right?
Yes, we do adopt the monthly building permits. It was added this afternoon for a mover and seconder. So there is a resolution on the table if council wishes to proceed. Please.
Okay, Councillor Mamchuk.
Oh, perfect. And seconder?
Councillor Clayton seconds.
Thank you, councillors.
Okay, unfortunately, I did print out a copy, but it appears to be in very fine print. So I think the number of permits for April in 2020 is 21. Total value of construction for those permits is just a shade under the 2.5 million and bringing in fees of almost $10,000 in building permit fees. So for to date, for 2020, we have 56 permits totaling a construction value of 14.2 million for building fees raised of 36,000. Basically well ahead of last year's mark at this point in time. So nice to see that the pandemic has not slowed down the construction business at our end. Council also has a list of all the permits that were done, and that I literally cannot see because it is too fine on my sheet of paper and my arms are not long enough to read. So I will defer that back to you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I thought we had something wrong with our calculation because we're killing it right now.
We're more than double of where we were last year, aren't we?
Yeah, year to date we're at 56, and in 2019 we're at 29. 14 million value over 6 million value. It's awesome.
It's nice to see Torrent Creek making some advancements too, Mr. Pelletier.
Yeah, they're in Grand Point, and a couple of commercial spots are doing well.
Good.
I just hope it continues.
Yeah.
A couple big pools going in. I see.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, and two
Everybody's getting ready.
pavilions. I'm curious to see what the pavilions are going to look like.
All right, thank you. Let's move to the vote. Accept that report.
Sorry, my screen is frozen up. Give me a second.
No worries.
I'm in favor, but oh, now it came.
And by the time it comes to my computer, we'll have a cup of coffee. I did, Councillor Boulanger, you said you were in favor?
Yeah, and it went through, so.
Okay. It hasn't come in at my end, so I'll still declare that as carried 4-0.
Thank you. I believe that takes us to number 10. Adjournment. Mover,
Counselor Mamchuk.
seconder.
I'll give this one to you, Janine.
Councillor Boulanger seconds the adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you. And vote.
That is carried 4-0.
Awesome. Thank you, council and staff. Nicely
Good job,
done.
Shane.
Time
very
at
good job.
7:53.
7:50.
7:50. Thank you.